All right, we are live, baby. We'll let it breathe just for a moment here because how would Facebook feel? I know YouTube doesn't care, nor should you, but think about this. How would Facebook feel if we just went about this conversation without them? They'd be bummed. You know what I mean? So we got to connect them, and we're good. Welcome in, everybody, to the Orange and Blue View podcast. It is, in fact, Saturday night, the 28th of March. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, you know him, you love him, Ron White, holding it down, dude. Ron, how you doing? How's your weekend going so far, big dog?
I'm doing well, Chad. It's been a great weekend so far. I've been tuned into March Madness, like most people here probably. So I've been watching the men's and the women's
Yeah.
basketball tournament, and they both have been very good so far. A few upsets, but I'm looking forward to watching more basketball and just enjoying the weekend overall. The weather here in Atlanta is pretty nice. So yeah, pretty good
Nice.
weekend so far. What about
Like,
yourself?
dude, I've been just doing like spring cleaning. Has been my weekend.
Mm,
Like, getting some stuff tidied up around the house, cleaning out the garage, getting the yard in order, hitting the
yeah.
grass with the weed and feed stage one, and hitting on everything. But anyway, string guys like, hey, how about those Illini, the Illini basketball team, Elite Eight, baby? He's stoked,
Mhm.
and he's saying, hey, we play Nick's Iowa Hawkeyes, and we have a 1 point lead in the second half. It's a barn burner. Nice, dude. Good for you.
Mhm.
I'm glad you're stoked on it. That's one of the joys, Ron, for sports nuts of March is football's long over by this point. We got a few little stops on the calendar to kind of get us by, but as far as football, but March, it's about March. It's about NFL free agency and March Madness.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's for sports fans, you have to love it. Although, for Broncos fans, even with the somewhat silence until the Waddle news or free agency, still good to have speculation, go through your mocks. And that's just in time as well for basketball coming up with the March Madness. So it's just a good time to be a sports fan, and you can still enjoy Broncos football talk with us even in the off season. So
And dude, even though they made the Waddle trade, I mean, let's be honest, we might not be able to say now an unprecedented Bronco offseason, but it's been one of the most unique, highly unusual, like two outside moves. One, hey, big blockbuster, you love it. The other one, kind of a fringe. Will he even make the roster? Third, fourth
yeah,
safety, special teams guy. And the only reason I say it, Ron, with a degree of any skepticism is what happened with Trent Sherfield last season, right? He was signed to a decent deal for his relative resume, and he lasted till whatever it was, first week of October, something like that, and they moved
mhm,
on from him. And I'm reminded also this was a little bit higher profile than Trent Sherfield, not that much more, but a little bit more. Josh Reynolds the year prior. Now in Tyson Anderson's case, though, Ron, I'm actually a little bit more hopeful. He's got some upside to him. I think he's relatively untapped in terms of what he can contribute on defense. So I'm intrigued by him, but I'm not going, all right, yeah, he makes up for the fact that they didn't sign any other free agents. We've been starving
mhm,
basically. Thank God for the Waddle move, but other
mhm.
than that, we've been starving.
Yes, for sure. And with Tyson Anderson, it's the upside's there. Coming in to fill in the void left from PJ Locke's departure. So we'll see, how he comes in and contributes. Probably will be mostly on special teams, if he does make the roster. But yeah, high upside guy in Cincinnati, and yeah, it's just been again, Chad. My word to use for this free agency period for the Broncos has just been baffling, a little
Yeah,
surprising.
yeah.
And you just want to know like what was going on. So something had to be going on behind the scenes, and yeah, I understand that they re-signed a lot of their players, which is well and good, but you wanted a splash outside move. So glad the Waddle trade happened, and it's only up from here.
We're going to be talking about Waddle here in a minute, but some hellos are in order. First, we got the Papa Bear checking in, David McElrath, a dear member, a Mount Rushmore superstar many times over, saying, good evening, Broncos country, hashtag God bless the USA, let's go, Bo. Thank you for those messages and the support, my brother. It's very good to
Hey,
see you,
David.
Papa Bear. We also have David Yunkin, a dear member, saying, you can't say that Courtland Sutton and Jaylen Waddle are a top 10 receiving duo until they've at least played for a season. Well, you can, but you got to have a pretty convincing argument. We're going to talk about that here in a second. It's really good to see you, David. Raj says, "Hey, good evening, Chad, Ron, Broncos country. With the addition of Waddle and Peyton's usual brilliant moves in the upcoming draft, my take is we are the best team in the AFC." I think you could point to the Broncos roster and say it's the deepest roster in the NFL. Like at the very least, Ron, it has point to like a glaring OMG roster hole. There isn't one. Like they're very balanced. There's a reason why they're quote unquote basically running it back with the, exception of the Waddle trade. So it's going to be fun to see how they maneuver in the draft and what their overall strategy there is. But I think because of the state of the roster, they set themselves up to maybe outside the second round pick. We'll see. But they set themselves up overall, though, Ron, to really be disciplined to their board and drafting guys for more of the long-term view. They don't need anyone from this class to step in right away and do X, Y, or Z.
Yep. I'm right there with you. Thank you, String Guy, for coming in with this comment. And String Guy, according to a lot of the rankings, the Broncos are the top AFC team. Obviously, they're not going to be over Seattle or the Rams. But as far as the AFC, you can't argue a team that's better, more deep than the Denver Broncos. I mean, yeah, will we criticize a few positions as far as some of their play on the field? Sure. There could
That's
be
our job.
Yeah, there could be somewhat of an upgrade at inside linebacker or tight end. But when you look at this roster top to bottom, starting at the quarterback position, and we know what this defense is on all the position groups on the defense, it's hard to argue a better unit. And you have to appreciate, I know we've criticized both Peytons, but you have to appreciate what they've done in free agency as far as re-signing this, most of the roster. I mean, again, because this roster got them to the AFC Championship game. So clearly the talent's there. And you want to retain that talent, obviously add in key pieces where you think there can be some marginal improvement. But you just have to credit the head coach Sean Payton and general manager George Payton on what they've done to make this roster a top 3 roster in the NFL.
It's pretty crazy, man, considering how bad things were just 3.5 years ago, right? Nathaniel Hackett, that embarrassment on Christmas. Was that a Christmas Eve night game or was it a Christmas Day night game? I don't recall, but that LA Rams game, and they fired Hackett after that, and the Russ trade was looking like a massive swing and a miss. And dadgum, if you would have taken bets then, not many folks, Ron, would have been wagering on the Broncos being in the AFC title game 3 years later, So some other hellos real quick, and we'll get to the main content topic of tonight. Shiloh, what's up, dude? Giving it a listen on his way home from working a soccer tournament, dude. Really cool, pal. Nice. Good to have you. We got Jetty Splash in the house. We got Mike Thompson, 2 dear members. We got Big Earn checking in on YouTube. Ernie. This is what I'm talking about. This Big Earn is what I want everybody who's the regulars on Facebook to do, because I'm telling you guys right now, we're going to stop streaming to Facebook here pretty soon. It's just going to be YouTube and X. So just FYI, Big Earn, I'm glad to see you in the chat on the YouTube side, Big Dog. That means you're not going to miss anything. Big E, good to see you. We'll come to you guys in the chat here in a second. Ron, let's get to what kind of triggered our title for tonight's live stream, because we got together. We're like, dude, all right, nothing's happening. We can talk about visits and all this, but like no news. What should we talk about? What should we kind of title the episode around? And Ron's like, let's talk about the top wide receiver duos. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. And this is kind of what it's centered around. This is from Mo Moton of Bleacher Report, who we don't often cite at MHH/Broncos on his side, but occasionally, especially in the depths of the offseason, you start kind of getting into every nook and cranny. But this is obviously ranking the NFL's best receiver duos, with the caveat here, after the Broncos traded for Jaylen Waddle. So let's take a look at it and see what they got. So first and foremost, in the top 10, this is only the top 10. He's got Ron, Nico Collins, and Jaden Higgins of the Houston Texans. Before we move on, what do you think of that duo?
It's an okay duo. I don't see them as top 10. Now, again, Nico Collins has been great ever since he entered the league for Michigan, but I think Jaden Higgins still has quite a bit to prove. I mean, I think he's going into his second year, so I wouldn't quite put them at 10. But I do think it's a promising duo.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to remind myself real quick what kind of statistic. I know Nico, but I'm reminding myself on Higgins, his statistical output, just like last season, CJ Stroud, 525 yards and 41 receptions, 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's relatively high touchdown rate, Ron, for the amount of grabs he had. But I agree with you. That's not a top 10 unit. So we're not off to a promising start. We continue. We come to number 9 for this cat. He says it's Michael Pittman Jr. and DK Metcalf. What do you think of this number 9 duo, according to him, Ron?
I actually agree with this slot for those two receivers. I do. Obviously, we know what DK Metcalf is in the years he's had. I know last year was a little bit on the lower side. I believe it was a career low of 850 yards, receiving yards, but he's had very good seasons in the past. And Pittman finished, I believe it was 784 yards. But I do think this tandem at least has done enough so far through their career to be good with that number 9 overall slot.
Question is, who's going to be throwing on the dadgum ball?
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably going to be A-Rod, right? He's probably going to come back, especially because it's McCarthy and all that. But that's a question. You got to factor in the waiting game. Yeah. All right, then we get to ding, 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 ding. Number 8, he's got Courtland Sutton, Jaylen Waddle, Broncos. Now I'm going to read a little bit of his rationale here. Moton writes, the newest duo lands in the number 8 spot because of a lack of accolades. What are we talking about? Oh, I see. Like the previous 2 tandems, this Broncos duo has 2 Pro Bowls between them. All of them from Courtland Sutton, by the way. Jaylen's never actually earned an accolade in the NFL. He goes on. In 25, Sutton made the AFC Pro Bowl roster for the second time in his career. He's shown consistency, eclipsing 1,000 receiving yards in consecutive years with young quarterback Bo Nix entering his age 31 term. That's a weird word for a season. Sutton isn't an ascending talent, but he's a reliable chain mover and a red zone threat with 25 touchdowns. Over the last 3 years, the Broncos added a speedy complementary receiver, in Jaylen Waddle to produce more explosive plays. Waddle hasn't eclipsed 1,000 yards in a season since 2023, but his production trended in the right direction between 24 and 25. He's only recorded 8 touchdowns over the last 2 years, but Sutton will be the main target in the red zone. Last thing, the Broncos pair should mesh well together because their skill sets and physical strengths don't overlap. Now, this part is very true. Waddle, he says, lastly, has room to grow in a better offensive situation under head coach Sean Payton too. So, Ron, we'll go through and look at 7, 6, all the way up to 1, but your thoughts on Sutton and Waddle at number 8?
Yeah, I think it's an okay slot for Sutton and Waddle. I may have maybe put them a tick higher. And kind of looking at the rest of them here, going a little bit ahead, Chad, with Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp, and then Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. And I know we all love Justin Jefferson, think the world of him, but I just think combined, I would take the Courtland Sutton, Jaylen Waddle combo over Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Just because of kind of what the production has been from both over the past several seasons. So I think I would switch this up where I would have Sutton and Waddle move up 1 and then move the Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison back 1. And actually we'll have Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp even above the Minnesota duo.
Okay, interesting. So let's look at the top 5. We won't need to go through each one. So at 5, it's A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith of the Eagles. 4, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams of the Lions. 3, it's CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, which is elite as far as
Yeah.
duos go.
Yeah.
Then it comes to Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams at number 2, which is solid rationale. And then number 1, hard to ever beat this one in the current NFL, Jamar
Yes.
Chase and T. Higgins. So that's where this cat anyway believes, Ron, the Broncos currently sit. I'm with you. I think honestly, I think you could make an argument to push Sutton and Waddle up over both the Minnesota duo and the Seattle duo, just
Okay.
because when you, and here's my rationale, when you balance what both guys bring to the table, a lot of those guys you're looking at like, yeah, 14 1500 yard receiver on one side
Mhm.
and then 4 or 500 yard guy on the other. It's heavily like, right, it's a little off kilter. Whereas Sutton and Waddle, they're both badass and they both
Mhm.
have production, even though Waddle's hasn't been as good the last couple of years, quarterback play, quarterback inconsistency, quarterback injuries. So it's an interesting food for thought on this 28th day, though, Ron, of March.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, this really does put in perspective, even where the Broncos duo now ranks just in the AFC, and I mean it's a number 2 duo behind Jamar Chase and T Higgins. So I'm very excited, looking forward to what this duo is going to bring in Mile High. And I mean, he's right. I think you read the portion um, of the fact that Waddle just they have different skill sets, and you're
Yeah.
going to see that on the field quite a bit. Just how they move Waddle a lot all over the field in the formation. So it's going to be exciting on offense for sure.
Jetty Splash is jumping in to help us keep the lights on this Saturday night with a generous super chat. Thank you, pal. Much love and respect to you. And thank you also for the double whammy of being a member, big dog. It means a lot to us. But you guys tell us, Jetty, everybody else, what do you think of the rankings? Do you think it's justified? If you were to make the slot yourself, where would you put the Broncos receiver duo amongst those names? Um, we got Albert. What's up? The Mile High Dutchie checking in saying, hello, y'all. How excited are you for the upcoming season? I'm very excited because the Broncos are Super Bowl bound. Yeah, I mean, Zach and I talked about this the other night. I think Bo Nix is going to be on just a man with a mission. Like, he got so close to the promised land and to have it taken from him, not necessarily because anything here the team failed to do, but because of a freak, stupid injury, the injury bug stepping in. I think you're going to see him just playing really kind of not angry in terms of lack of poise and way, but just like aggressive. And you throw in Jaylen Waddle into the mix, and guys,
Hmm.
I mean, go back if you're not sure. Ron talked about it because the dude mentioned it, but the truest thing that guy wrote in his rationale of where the Broncos duo ranks in his top 10 is that they are complementary skill sets. What Sutton do and Waddle do, and what that really means is that no longer can defenses just sell out, double team Sutton with a corner on him and a safety over the top. They can't do it to Waddle either. So they have to, I mean, they have to kind of pick their poison. There will be times in situations where, yes, one of them will get doubled, but they have to be very selective when they do that. And Bo Nix is going to know those situations and make them pay and go the other guy's way. That's not even Ron counting Evan Ingram factoring in or any of the other receivers. The run game, if we can keep J.K. Dobbins healthy, that run game is going to be healthy. So I think Bo Nix, man, NFL watch out, because I was talking to a guy today, a good buddy, and I'll call him a colleague slash fan of the show. All right.
Hmm.
He goes, dude, when they traded for Waddle, like I spent the next day like watching Waddle highlights, just kind of like soaking it all in. And I came away going, dude, you know what I'm gonna do? I think Bo Nix is gonna win the MVP. Like, I think I'm gonna go bet on that right now. I'm gonna put some money on it. And he did, because of the Waddle trade. So I'm stoked. Albert, obviously everybody I think is pretty excited. It's just a matter of how can we speed up the time?
Yes, Albert, thank you so much for coming in. And I don't know. I don't know if I could even measure my level of excitement right now for the upcoming season. I am so ready for the season to start. And you're right, Chad. I think Bo Chapman Nix is going to be like a man on a mission. Be very motivated to start to play. And the fact that we do have Waddle on this offense is just going to open things up even more. I am so excited for these players, like for the running game to take off. I know J.K. Dobbins sat down with the NFL Network the other day and talked about just how this offense is even going to be better and look out. And I
Yep.
think Bo Nix with Davis Webb, and I think that's where you'll see a big difference. Again, it's still going to be Sean Payton's offense, but you'll see fewer personnel changes, probably with tempo, and you'll see better situational awareness when it comes to the play calling. And I think those things alone will take this offense to a next level because we already know what Bo Nix was even before the injury. I mean, 14-3, number one seed.
Yeah.
But having a different play caller, being motivated, adding a position, adding a skill player like Waddle, and who knows who else in the draft if they do play. This team is set for the moon, and I do see Super Bowl, Albert. So great, yes.
You bring up tempo, that word, man. And how often, I'm just thinking back to not just this last season, but the season before when we're going, anytime Sean Payton would run high tempo, no huddle, Bo Nix would just march up and down the field.
Yeah.
Why don't they do it more? Why do you always have to huddle? Da, 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 da. And why does it take so long? But even not so much so long getting the plays in. I mean, that's a separate issue, but just a matter of tempo and letting Bo Nix cook and just kind of dictate. We need more of that. And I think, you don't want to sell Sean Payton short. I mean, he's viewed as one of the best offensive minds of the 21st century NFL. But the one thing that's very interesting in terms of the outlook for Davis Webb is 3 years ago, he was doing Bo Nix's job. Now, was he ever a franchise quarterback? No. But what I mean is he was playing the position in the modern NFL. And so the demands of it, the opportunities of it, like he sees it from a player perspective, which I think going from those ranks around so quickly to coaching, and now just 3 short years later, being given the keys to an offense like this with a quarterback and the weapons it has, like this is potentially, guys, it could be absolutely huge, and it's really exciting. Albert, good to see you, pal. We got Tucson Phil saying,
Yeah.
good evening, Chad and Ron, over on Facebook, saying, looking around the league, some possible cap casualties that could fit us. Cole Kmet, the Bears. 2, Eric Armstrong, the Jags. 3, Christian Ellis, the Pats. 4, Colby Parkinson, the Rams. And 5, Brees Hall, Jets. Who are you taking? Buck Mitchell for life, Broncos for life. So first of all, Brees Hall ain't going nowheres unless you've heard something wrong that I haven't heard. But nevertheless, it's an interesting question. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to take your word for it, Phil, that you've done maybe a little bit of research on these names. But obviously it would be Brees Hall. But I'm going to remove him from the equation, and I'm going to say Parkinson if it were to ever actually happen.
Yeah, Phil, thank you so much for coming in. This is a good question. That would have been my guess as well, Chad. I'm sorry, my answer as well. But I'm going to go ahead and put Christian Ellis. I think Christian Ellis can really come in and make some impact this season. I wouldn't mind Cole Kmet either, but yeah, I would take Christian Ellis and Colby Parkinson.
Dude, Parkinson he only had 43 receptions last season, but 8 of them were touchdowns. Yeah. So interesting guy there. Good question, Phil. Getting us thinking, big dog. Appreciate you, pal. I'm seeing some comments on the question at hand as far as the duos. Chase says, I agree, Chad. Cooper Kupp is still solid, but not as much of a needle mover. So some of those rankings, quite obviously, again, Ron, were heavily weighted by one of those duo being like mega super duper star, right? The Jefferson, I guess Jackson Smith and Jigba, of course. So from just a pure duo where you're weighing both and you're not just weighting it, WEIGHT, weighting it because one guy is like super mega, I think it's hard to, you could even make an argument to put the Broncos. I'm looking at it again. All right. 1, no, that's the Bengals duo. Rams, no, just because, yeah, Puka's amazing and Devontae's amazing, even though he's long in the tooth. Cowboys, no. But you could put an argument, in my opinion, Ron, you could put an argument as high as 4 or 5. I'm not saying that is necessarily the case. I'm just saying you could make the argument based on what I'm saying. You don't just overly weigh it based on the fact that, say, Justin Jefferson is super duper mega.
Yeah, yeah, and that's how I was looking at this list as well. Kind of looking at some of the statistics, I'm like, well, you could actually put the Broncos at number 5 or number 4 if you want, if you're looking at each of these receivers individually and their
Yeah.
production over the past couple years.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a case for it. But yeah, we'll see kind of how it all shakes out in during the season. But I think where it is now, given they have yet to play a snap together, and I know that's the same for Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf as well. You kind of want to maybe not rank them as high, but yeah, their production definitely warrants, being in that top 5.
Shiloh says, yeah, I could see Sutton and Waddle being as high as 5 as well as a duo. I mean, look, Brown and Smith are amazing individuals as receivers. And so as a duo, that boosts them up there. Like, I think they're pretty deserving where they're at 5. I would maybe even push them to 4. I would drop St. Brown and Williams to 6. And I'd probably just put the Broncos at 5, honestly. Like, that's being, I think, fairly objective in the analysis, weighting it again, not just on one guy, but what do both dudes bring to the table. So interesting stuff. Thank you, Shiloh. Albert says, Bo elevates many players on the offense, and that could create a very dangerous offense that could move to top 5. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, here's what's crazy. Crazy only in the sense that it's not perceived this way. So maybe even some Broncos fans might not know this or may have forgotten it. But as a rookie, Bo Nix led the Broncos offense, Ron, to finish top 10 in scoring. They were exactly 10th in scoring. All right, that's pretty impressive for a rookie, especially considering the relative lack of explosive weapons around him in 2024. 2025, they did not finish as a top 10 scoring offense, but they did finish top 10 in yards. So in both seasons, top 10, Albert's saying Bo is that tide that raises all the ships, and now they're going to push for top 5. For me, Ron, if it's top 5, you got to be up there in both points and yards.
Agreed. And yes, Albert, I mean, Bo elevate. You're right. Bo does elevate the offense, given what he's had on offense, especially, outside of Sutton at the tight end position. It's been less than stellar.
Yeah.
So with this addition of Waddle, I keep saying that this Waddle addition is just going to pay dividends for him, for Davis Webb, for Peyton, and this entire Broncos team, just how they're going to be able to use him. And you factor in, if we can, knock on wood, keep a healthy J.K. Dobbins on the field, it even has the potential to go further. And a team that has top 5 offense and already a top 5 defense, I mean, sign them up for the Super Bowl. So I do see that for this team. And, we can't forget, not only the weapons, Bo can be a weapon himself by using his legs. So I just think they're going to be a multiple of ways that Webb can kind of use, RPO game, design runs as well with some of the speed of the playmakers to help catapult this offense.
Well said. Pearl, good to see you, my friend. We're going to come back and we're going to grab a few. Let's see. We got an interesting question from, where did it go? Oh, Marco. I'm going to star that so I don't miss it. We'll grab that here in a second. Quentin, we'll get you on Facebook, and some other stuff, including Albert's other question. But first, Shannon is jumping in from the tippity top rope. What an entrance, my friend. And thank you so much, helping Ron and I out big time on this Saturday night episode of the Orange and Blue View podcast. Shannon, you have already established yourself as a legend in the community. So I hope you know how much you mean to us, and everybody for that matter, and your insights, what you bring to the table with the conversation, just overall. Thank you so much for your contributions to MHH. She says, good evening, Chad, Ron, and Broncos country. Looking forward to seeing how Webb handles play calling and how Waddle being on the field will open things up for this offense. It should be interesting to see Bo play with more offensive threats. I mean, yeah, Ron, talk about it. Like, how do you think specifically Waddle opens things up for Bo in the offense?
Yeah, so the speed of Waddle, these defenses have to account for, Shannon. And again, Shannon, thank you so much for coming in with that. We greatly appreciate your support. But yeah, it opens up things so much just because it's going to be interesting to see how Webb uses Waddle. I mean, you can use Waddle in so many different ways, down the field, on screens, in the middle of the field. I remember that play, Chad. I think it was against Atlanta, where he hit that slant and just. So it's plays like that where, and I think there were 2 or 3 defenders in the vicinity, and he just popped it out, snapped it out of the air, and it just went.
Yep.
So there are plays like that, Shannon, where defense is going to try to account for him. They're going to have to try to defend him, and then you have one-on-one opportunities with Courtland, Sutton, or whoever that third wide receiver is, like a Troy Franklin or a Pat Bryant. This also should help Evan Ingram. I expect Evan Ingram to be one of the big benefactors from this trade, just because in the middle of the field and, some of those intermediate routes that Evan Ingram runs, he can be good in that regard. So I just think there's so much multiplicity now on offense. And that's what you want, a guy that defenses have to account for and you can use in so many different ways, to where as though your other receivers now can win their one-on-one matchups and leave, the middle of the field open for Evan Ingram and other folks to become involved.
All right, so I'm going to take a chance here, Ron. We've talked about it so many times, and I'm sure a lot of folks know exactly the play we're talking about here. But since it's on X, and all we're doing is showing something that's on X, this is the play we keep talking about. And hopefully, it's only 15 seconds long. We should be all right. Check this out. Is it on screen, Ron?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay.
But so far, no ill effects today. 10th play of the drive. Here they come. There he goes.
I mean, look at that speed, dude.
It's crazy.
Look at this. It's just a little slant, dude.
A little slant. Sure.
Turns on the Jets. Ain't nobody catching him. One more time. Fake. Play
Coming to Mile High. Coming to Mile High soon, guys.
Kaboom, right? So this is why everyone's so excited. And that's just one example. It's like you think back to that Demaryius Thomas Tebow epic play that was in overtime, right? That ended the game. And it's similar, like, except he had to beat like everybody on the back end of the defense to the corner, and DT just with that stiff arm and those legs just kept Ike Taylor off him, and then a safety tried to get there, but he was just too slow. 2 guys. So we'll say he had to beat 2 guys. Jaylen beat like 5 guys to the corner that had everything in front of them. You know what I mean? So It's pretty impressive, I got to say. But Shannon, much love and respect, my friend. Thank you so much. Really, this time of year, especially, it makes a huge difference. So thank you again. Back to the conversation too, and we'll continue keeping an eye out for Shannon's insights in the chat. But I wanted to grab this from Marco. Give him some love here, who says, is there a Cam Jordan trade happening? Well, he's a free agent. So thank you for bringing up the topic, though, Marco. It's worth talking about, and here's why. Broncos said goodbye to John Franklin Myers. They're getting a comp pick back. They don't want to do anything to screw up that comp pick for multiple reasons, not the least of which is the 2027 draft, in which they will be awarded this projected comp pick, is going to be deep, and they want to have as many arrows in the quiver as possible. Now, right now, if they were to sign, unless he took like some really, hey, just give me vet minimum type thing, which Cam Jordan wants to keep playing. He's 36. He's not going to do that. So my guess, Ron, and I could end up being wrong on this, is Sean Payton calling him, because it's so obvious. Like, this was a Sean Payton first round pick in 2011. Hey, man, we want to bring you in, but we need you to wait. We can't make the offer till after the draft, when the comp pick formula goes out the window, and we can sign anybody we want for any level we want, and it will not affect our comp formula. Can you hang tight? Now, I could be wrong, and maybe the Broncos aren't thinking that way, and Ron, they're planning on just bringing in some depth through the draft and relying on Ioma Uwazurike and last year's 3rd-round pick Savion Jones. But this is too easy. Like, Cam Jordan's available. You ain't going back to New Orleans. And you only need a 1 or 2 year Band-Aid to continue bringing along Savion Jones. It lines up ideally.
Yeah, I agree. And, I mean, what he even gave the Saints last year, 10.5 sacks. I mean, come on, that coming to Denver would be amazing. And, yeah, they can wait till after the draft to snag him because it won't, depending on his deal, which he's not going to give that minimum, as you mentioned, but he's not going to be, like, cheap either. But I see, like a 2-year deal between 6-8 million or something like that to kind of help and solidify the interior defensive line. So yeah, I like Cam Jordan as an option. And I do think with that connection with Peyton that it does seem very feasible. I also like Calais Campbell as well. He'd be another good fit.
Do you remember what year that was, Ron? Do you remember sorry to cut you off, but do you remember that year Elway almost had him? Calais?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was like 16, 17, 18,
yeah.
somewhere in that window.
17. I think it was
Sounds
like
right.
17 or somewhere around there. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. He almost became a Bronco once, is my point. So close.
Yeah. So, yeah, even him coming in, getting a similar deal, maybe just even a 1-year deal for Calais Campbell, to just help.
Yeah.
Because that's the missing thing for both of them. They want to be on a Super Bowl contending team, and what better place than the Broncos? So I'm good with either of those options coming in and help filling out that room even more.
You know what's interesting about Jordan is people forget, because it's been a minute, but he's an 8-time Pro Bowler. 8 times. In fact, he had a run, Ron, from 2017 through 22. Each one of those seasons, 17 through 22, Pro Bowl. He was an All-Pro 3 of those years, including a first-team All-Pro in 17. But here's what's kind of weird. So in each of the last 3 by the way, this is a guy you can rely on. He does not miss games, guys. It's kind of weird how few games this dude misses. So let's check this out real quick. In 243 possible games he could have played in, he started 242. He's missed 1 game, Ron, since 2011. The last 3 years, he's played all 17. And in 23 and 24, 23 was like his career low besides his rookie year. 2 sacks. And yet he played heck of snaps. He only had 2 sacks. Or same thing, 17 games, 17 starts, only 4 sacks. And then out of the blue, he comes storming back to the double-digit territory, as you mentioned last season. All 17 games, gets 10.5 sacks. This is a guy to me that, hey, he's 6'4", he's 287. So, he's right there what you need for that 4-eye that you're replacing, technique, basically John Franklin Myers as far as body type and size. He's not a defensive tackle. He's a 4-3 end, or in a 3-4 system, he's a defensive end too, but a 4-eye. I love him more as an option for Denver than Calais Campbell, only because that Peyton synergy. Now, I could be tripping, Ron, and going, hey, it just seems so obvious why he's not signed. He said he still wants to play. Gave you 10.5 sacks last year. Broncos haven't moved on him. I think after the draft, dude, I don't know. I just have this feeling Cameron Jordan's going to be coming to Denver.
Yeah, it might already be a handshake deal. They're just waiting on, the draft to pass, and he will be a Denver Bronco. I mean, because I know he's been on several podcasts, done a lot of interviews about wanting to still play, preferably for a contending team. So you have to kind of see the tea leaves here, where I think Denver is probably the spot that he's looking to play.
By the way,
next season.
Have you ever watched Peaky Blinders on Netflix?
I have.
Okay. So I'd heard that a million times and I understood what it meant. I'd never seen, obviously, anybody read the tea leaves. Okay. So there's this scene. I'm actually binging it right now. This is like the third time I've watched Peaky Blinders, and I decided to start over with it because they just put a movie out on it. So I'm like, I'm gonna watch the movie, and then I'm like, I watched the movie, so I'm just like stoked on this. I'm gonna watch it all again. But it gets to this scene where one character asks another, "Hey, will you read my tea leaves?" And she goes, "Sure." And so she's got her tea. She mixes her tea, and then she says, while she's mixing it, she says, "Now think about the man you love," or something like that, and and while you're swirling it. So she does, and then, all right, dump it out. The tea leaves, it's not like dry leaves on a table that you're leafing through and read. It's whatever the leavings after you dump out the tea, that stuff at the bottom, kind of like coffee grounds. That's what they're reading. Isn't that weird? I never knew that. For whatever it's worth, kind of a stupid thing. But real quick, there was something about Cam Jordan that I wanted to say. What was it? Oh, it'll come back to me. In the meantime, what was it? The ship sailed. Doesn't matter. Let's grab Quentin, who's been a patient boy on Facebook, says, "I'm curious to see what Davis Webb and his connection with Bo will bring. I think Sean Payton may have been holding Bo back a bit." I mean, we talked about one way, it seems, Ron, that he was being held back just by, like, the only time you ever saw him go tempo was end of the second quarter, end of the fourth quarter. So that's one way. Could there be other ways you think that he was maybe being training wheels, just being kind of cautious because Bo's still learning, or what do you think?
Yeah, Quentin, that's a good point. I do think, like, some of the short passes, quick screens, and I know that's a staple of Sean's offense, but that kind of goes into it where you just need to let Bo be Bo. Let him, if it's not there, let him take off. Down the field passes, down the field shots, and I do think you will see quite a bit of that from Webb. And again, it's all about situation. It's all about the situation presents itself. So, on a 4th and 1, you won't see what you saw in the AFC Championship game. So yeah, I do think that there is some truth to that. But yeah, I just want to see Bo just let loose the whole game. Take his shots to Jaylen Waddle. And, if he's covered, you have Courtland Sutton or the third receiver. Use Evan Ingram more. Throw it to RJ Harvey. So there are going to be multiple ways, that these players can get involved. And I just think that with the design and the innovation, that Webb, the new school innovation, again, it's still going to be Peyton's offense, but there's going to be some tweaks on a modern scale where I think Webb can kind of come in and deploy and elevate Bo in this offense even more.
Quentin, by the way, is that Lake Powell in your profile pic on Facebook? Where's that photo taken? Or like, you'll have to drop. I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to, but I'm just curious. Looks like you're doing like a cliff jumping into some water, hopefully, because you're either that or you're walking on air, my dog, something like that off a cliff. Anyway, really cool stuff. And Ron, I remembered what it was I was going to say. You brought up how Cam Jordan wants to win a championship, right? Well, that's very important to him, and it's pretty easy to see why. Yes, he was a Sean Payton draft pick many, many moons ago. Unfortunately for him, it came 2 years after they won that Super Bowl. So that was 2009 season. He was drafted in 2011. And so they had some really good teams. They got close several times, but just couldn't quite get back over the hump, so to speak. So he would love nothing more, just like DeMarcus Ware, highly decorated guys. Cam Jordan might not be future Hall of Famer, but considering how prolific he was for the team in question that he played for all those years, Ron, it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up in the Hall of Fame. I mean, career-wise, just real quick, I don't want to turn this into the Cam Jordan podcast, but he's got 132 career sacks. So all-time sacks, let me see real quick. So all-time 132 is what he's got, right? So that puts him at 22nd all-time. And he's going to keep playing. So the guys ahead of him, let's see, plus means I gotta confirm something here. Plus means Hall of Fame, I want to say indicates Hall of Fame. So of all the guys ahead of him, okay, so Cam Jordan's 22. The only guys who are not currently right this second in the Hall of Fame are Leslie O'Neal, who had 132.5, John Abraham, who had 133.5, Von Miller, who's still playing, with 138.5. Terrell Suggs with 139, and then everybody else above them. So Von's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I think Suggs eventually gets there, for what it's worth. So really, we're talking about Leslie O'Neal being the only guy ahead of Cam Jordan on the all-time sack list that's not in the Hall of Fame or likely to be in the Hall of Fame. So he's a very good player that needs a home for one last run type of thing. And I'm telling you, I have a feeling. Pearl, good to see you again. Much love and respect to you, my friend. All right, back to the subject of our streams, so to speak, and that is this receiver sitch, the offense. Phil says, just think, Waddle on one side, Sutton on the other, our great overpaid tight end breaking inside, Marvin Mims coming out of the backfield. Who you going to call? Ghostbusters couldn't even stop him, Ron.
Yeah, I mean, I like the tight end comment there, Phil. I mean, you stop that tight end because Shotman really doesn't do it for me. But yeah, point taken here, Phil. I mean, who are you going to call? Like, who's the defense going to stop? With all that focus on Waddle, I just think Sutton's going to eat. And then, yeah, Mims, whatever snaps he get, whether they be at running back or even if he's down the field. I wish they would use Mims more. I know, Chad, you and I have talked about that in great depth, where Mims needs to be used more on offense because when he's given his opportunity, I mean, he delivers. He comes up clutch. So that offense, Phil, with just this speed and these big receivers winning their one-on-one matchup, is just going to be very difficult for any defense to stop on a consistent basis. So yeah, who are you going to call? What are you going to call? Who's going to stop it? Yep. And Broncos are going to get touchdowns.
Yeah. Let's go. I'm with you. Shannon also brings up then with Dobbins out there the running game can also get going to really frustrate defenses. Yeah. And that's something he said. Real quick, something that Dobbins said. Ron brought it up at the top of the show. He did a little segment on NFL Network, The Insiders, which is Ian Rappaport, and I always almost call him Sam Weish, but Steve Weish. Let me see. Hold on. Let me find this real quick. Dobbins. And I'll tell you what he said. We played it a couple days ago on a different stream, but this is really interesting, Ron. I'm going to quote him. He said, first things first, on how is Webb taking over as the play caller. What does that mean for you personally as a player, your outlook, J.K. Dobbins? Quote, I think it's going to impact me big time. I think Webb is a fantastic play caller, and so is Sean Payton. So with the help of Sean Payton, with Davis Webb, I think it's going to be even better than last year. I think we're going to do some things that people, and he almost said something, then he said, they won't expect it. And then he goes on to say, and then we got another guy that just came in Jaylen Waddle. Like, pick your poison, because we got Courtland Sutton. We've got the young Pat Bryant. We've got a great O-line. We've got everything. We've got an embarrassment of riches on this team of talent, close quote. So Dobbins is feeling it too, Ron.
Yeah. Again, we're all feeling it, all just ready to just see this explosion on offense. And yeah, let's get her going.
Let's do it. Williams jumping in. Good to see you, pal. Any new guitars? You'll have to let me know. He says, I just hope this offense gets going finally this year without any injuries and everything finally clicks. Been waiting for that to happen since the offseason. We got Russ. LOL. Yeah, I know. It's, as great as Bo has been, that's what's so exciting about Bo Nix is he's been so productive, not just in the stat box, the box score, but in terms of the standings. He's been so productive, and yet we have eyes. Ron, you and I sat through one of the ugliest offensive showings for 3 quarters that I've ever seen, let alone in person. And then all of a sudden, kaboom, fourth quarter, Bo goes, give me the cape. Whoosh, dun, 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 and, it's insane. So he eventually kind of found his year 2 footing, I would say, Ron, somewhere like about that first Chiefs game. From that, something about that game really kind of, he turned it on. He cranked it up a little bit, and he started really climbing from there. And so you think about those inconsistencies that every young quarterback deals with and think, man, he's been that good and productive. Imagine once it all really clicks, like Williams talking about, and you get a little luck from the injury bug maybe, and boy, oh boy, we're talking Star Wars. Like that's up there, to quote the dearly departed former owner, late owner, I should say, of the Indianapolis Colts. Star Wars numbers, dude.
Yeah, yeah, William, and you bring up a good point. We want the Broncos offense to start off good, start off hot. You wish, again, with Webb, should be more running as well. And now, hopefully, with the running game coming into play more, you should see play action. You should see the field, middle of the field, open up as well, when they stack the box. So you just want, the play calling to be good and let Bo be Bo early on, to where as though you don't have these fourth quarter heroics. Now, was that great last year to see? Yeah, because we saw Bo in his natural form, just playing free. But you don't want to see that, over the course of 5 or 6 games, right? You want to see them kind of starting off good with some consistency, getting the run game with the pass, and then kind of building off of that as the season goes along. And hopefully with the defense, they should be able to be up a score at least on their opponents moving forward.
Well said. Phil's feeling the new Peaky Blinders movie.
Peaky Blinders.
I'll be honest with you, Phil. I thought it was okay. I didn't like that they didn't bring back the actor to play Arthur, and so they kind of had to like come up with an explanation for him. I guess I didn't preface that with some spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. But overall, I thought it was a good way to kind of, tell the final Tommy Shelby story and give you kind of an idea of what maybe comes next for Shelby Company Limited. And yeah, by order of the Peaky Blinders, Chase. I mean, my accent sucks, but yeah, dude, for sure. Really interesting stuff. And Bobby Hill says cliff diving at Green Mountain Reservoir. That's a beautiful place, man. I love it up there. It's gorgeous. But you're not who I was asking the question on the cliff diving, dude. I was asking Quentin. And I don't think Quentin has answered that I can see in the chat. So, all right, we're about out of time, guys. I'm taking one last look here. Money Moore, a dear member, wants to know, why don't we just bring Von Miller back? I believe in miracles. I swear I've seen a few. Hey, I do too. Just like the Ramones song, I believe in miracles. Absolutely. We've witnessed many miracles as Broncos fans, especially 2011, right? The Tebow season was one freaking miracle after the other. But what do you think, Ron? Like, spit it to Money More straight. Why the bottom line, Von Miller is probably not going to be a Bronco again until he retires. He'll retire a Bronco, but
yeah, he's going to sign that contract when he retires to be a Bronco. But Money More, no, we won't bring Von back just because the edge room is so deep as it is. Like, who are you going to sit down for Von to take snaps? And then I think this need that Denver has is purely to fill that JFM role, and Von just doesn't do that. That's why you do have, Chase put it there perfectly. You need someone like Calais Campbell, like a Cam Jordan to do that. And again, as great as Von has been, there's just no room in that running back group for him to play. It's deep with Jonah Ellis and DeAndre Tillman and, of course, Nick Bonito and Q Robinson, Jonathan Cooper. So you're taking snaps away from someone else so Von can play, and I just don't think that would be a good thing for the Broncos to do. So that would be the reason.
Agreed. Daniel, good to see you, buddy. Dear member checking in. Big E's been commenting a lot. Let's get one here from Big E. Good to see you, pal. Saying, can you all imagine this one? No huddle play. All the shotgun have Mims as the running back. Have Bryant playing tight end. Courtland, Jaylen Waddle, Troy Franklin as the receivers. Yeah, I mean, dude, that sounds a little bit like NASCAR, but I would say have Sutton. Honestly, I would rather have. Well, I don't know. I was going to say I'd maybe rather have Evan Ingram in that package than say Pat Bryant, but it's the other way around. I would take Troy Franklin off the field, and I have Pat Bryant on the field on one end, Sutton on the other, Waddle in the slot, and I'd have Evan Ingram. And then, we'll see where Mims fits in. Running back out of the backfield, what are you going to do with RJ? Maybe RJ, dude, it's just so much possibilities, Biggie.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you, Chad. I think I agree with everything you said. Just take Franklin off the field. And then, maybe another running back in play, maybe i.e. a Jadarian Price and or a Jonah Coleman, perhaps, in the fold. But yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches, like JK said.
String guy, hi, William. Give me a prediction. Who buys more guitars in 2026, you or Chad? LOL. Well, I will tell you this. I have not bought a guitar in at least 6 months. It's actually been about 6 months. I'm on a moratorium right now. I'm trying not to buy any guitars because I have a nice little collection. And what I'm actually trying to do right now is thin the herd a little bit because I have a lot of guitars. I have a lot of my pedal collection would blow your mind, dude. And I'm just going, do I really need all this stuff? Nah. I've collected it over 30 something years of playing music and stuff, like it's just a passion of mine. So that's not to say I won't buy a guitar in 2026, but if I don't buy a guitar in 2026, I'll tell you this, Raj and William and everybody else who gives a damn, it would be the first year in at least 7 years that I haven't bought a guitar. So for what it's worth, but I do have several for sale right now on Reverb that I'm trying to move. So interesting stuff. But guys, we're out of time. Last thing here from Phil. Don't forget, we may trade Cooper or Ellis. Then we could pick up Vaughn. Well, it's possible, and we won't be able to say till maybe after the draft passes. Something could happen. But Cooper restructuring his contract to free up, I think it was $8.5 million. That does kind of make him a little bit harder to move on from. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't mean it couldn't happen still, but they just moved things around to complicate that a little bit more. So that's the main key here. So long as Cooper, I don't think it's so much about Ellis. So long as Cooper's still on the roster, there's really no room at the end for Vaughn.
Yeah, and even if they trade someone, I see your point here, Phil. Even if they trade someone, they can still draft an edge. So I don't, again, I know we all would love Vaughn to come back, but it's just not happening with this version of the Broncos. When Vaughn retires, you'll see him sign that one-day contract to retire a Bronco. But I just think, given the state of these current Broncos and how they want to keep that edge room for the most part intact and young, I don't see a spot for Vaughn, unfortunately.
Storm Bless, good to see you, pal. Saying problem is if we bring Vaughn back, then we take playing time away from the young talent.
Yeah,
exactly. So this is the crux of the matter at this moment in time. But guys, this has been a phenomenal podcast. We got a few messages for you here before we start dipping out. We'll take one last look at the chat, but we want to remind you to connect with us. The conversation continues a couple different spots. Connect with us on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. My partner here, Ron, at Ron White NFL. You can find me at Chad and Jensen. And then also, guys, connect with our main account at Mile High Huddle on Twitter. And then the Orange and Blue View account is at Orange, the letter N, Blue View. Easy. Connect over there. And then don't forget, guys, the conversation really goes on in the Discord, the MHH Discord. The invite link, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Come hang out, talk. It's in the description, the first link in the description of this video. And then also, guys, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. We are shooting for 40,000 subscribers. And Ron, you could probably remember, because I think back then you were still in the superstar community when we hit 7,000 subs. Trying to remember exactly when it was, but big extravaganza, like the symbolic number 7. We hit 7K. This was like, I don't know, might have been 2020-ish, something like that. And to think that in, basically might have been 2021. I think it was 2020. But short time, we're already almost at 40K. We're at like 38,300, something like that. So when we hit 40,000 subscribers on YouTube, boy, oh boy, we're going to celebrate. We're going to do some fun stuff. We're going to raffle off some swag. we're going to make it a big celebration. So for those of you, especially who are going to be watching this after the fact on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe, because only about half of you that watch after the fact, you watch it, but you're not subbed. So just take that extra step, sub with us, help us reach our goal, 40,000, and it's going to be a gas. Other than that, guys, one last thing, Ron, and then I'll let you sign it off for us. A mile-high salute to the great Super Chat superstars, the supporters, the dear members, really helping us keep the lights on tonight, like Shannon Mills from the Tippity Top Rope, Papa Bear, David McElrath, Jetty Splash, Tucson Phil. Love you guys so much. And all of our dear members that are in the chat right now, like Pearl, Money Moore, Mike. Oh, I got to go to the top here. David, I already met String Guy, Raj. Love you guys. Love you guys. I try to name as many as I can, but it starts boring people a little bit, but I love you guys. So I'll see you tomorrow. Zach and I, we're back Sunday night, etc. But Ron, once again, brother, great time talking football with you, and look forward to doing it again next Saturday.
Yes, thank you all for tuning in. We greatly appreciate questions, comments, and the support. And until next time, everyone, have a great rest of your weekend, and go Broncos.